Takulandirani ku AMTV Malawi kuchimake kwa nkhani zenizeni. Ngati nkhani imeneyo kuno kulibe, dziwani kuti nkhani imeneyo ndi yabodza.
Today, the President of the Republic of Malawi, Dr. Lazarus Makathe Chakwera, has arrived here in the Parliament chamber to answer questions considering the SONA which he delivered in the House on 14 February 2025. This will be his 60th question time appearance in the Parliament since assuming office in 2020. His appearance in Parliament is guided by the Standing Order 70B, subsection 1, dealing with Section 89, subsection 3C of the Constitution, which says that during a budget meeting of the Assembly and immediately before consideration of the budget estimates, the President shall attend Parliament to respond to questions asked and raised during debate on the State of the Nation address. The question time for the President shall last for 1 hour, 30 minutes. The President will take a maximum of 5 original questions that are on today's order paper, and of course 3 supplementary questions on each will follow. Among others, the questions border on matters of national and international importance by members of the Assembly. These may include matters for which government is responsible. The President will sit on the government side, especially reserved for the purpose by the Speaker during President's question time. This is guided by Standing Order 70C. According to today's order paper, the President is expected to respond to questions from Honorable Ashen Songwe MP from Rikoma Islands, Honorable Mike Bango MP, Kasungu North Constituency, Honorable Paul Dumembi Nkoma MP, Kasungu Northeast Constituency, Honorable Salim Bakas MP, Chikwawa Central Constituency, and Honorable Kenneth Ndovi MP, representing Karonga Nyungwe constituency. Thus, the Speaker's procession making way into the Parliament chamber. We now cross over for the chamber to follow today's proceedings.
Let us pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness has appointed the office of the rulers and parliament for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we ask you to behold with your abundant favors your servants whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in this land. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of this country and of those whose interest you have committed to our church. Amen.
General business, communication from the chair.
Good afternoon, honorable members, and welcome to Parliament. Honorable members, I wish to welcome His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Makate Chakwera into Parliament chamber. You are welcome, Your Excellency. Honorable members, I wish to remind you that His Excellency the President is appearing before the House to answer questions based on Standing Order 89(3)(c) of the Constitution as read with Standing Order 70B. May I take this opportunity to welcome His Excellency to this August House as you'll be discharging your constitutional duties. I wish to commend Your Excellency for this noble gesture. In terms of procedure for questions to the President, I wish to remind honorable members that we will be guided by Standing Order 70B. The President will answer questions and issues which members raised in the SONA, and he is free to respond to some issues raised during the general debate on the SONA. The duration of this session is 1 hour, 30 minutes. A maximum of 5 questions, but I would like to inform the House that 1 question has been withdrawn on the order paper, and they shall be taken together with a maximum of 3 supplementary questions, which will be allowed on any of the 5 original 4 questions to the President. May I remind you, honorable members, that these supplementary questions have to arise directly from the answers to the original question. They should not be used to introduce matters not included in the original answer to the question, and a supplementary question shall not purport to raise a new matter on the floor. And to our visitors in the visitors gallery, you're not allowed to take part in debate, you're not allowed to clap, you're not allowed to jeer. Ndingonena sonchichewa alendo athu amene mwabwera muli mwambamu sinololedwa kuombera manja kapena kuyankhulapo pa chilichonse chimene chikuyankhulidwa nyumba muno. Tikapeza ena akupanga zimenezo ndi atuma achitetezo athu kuti akutulutseni nyumba muno. Honorable members, welcome Your Excellency, and clerks at the table.
General business, questions to the President, understanding order 70B.
Honorable member for Blantyre City South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let us follow our own rules. Honorable Salima Southeast is currently serving a suspension. I have also served suspension. Why is it always Malawi Congress Party want to break laws in this House? Why, Madam Speaker? Let's respect the speakership office. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable member for Blantyre City Southwest, clerks at the table, can you check for me in terms of the punishment? Was the honorable member for Salima Southwest, was he supposed to come in? I'm being guided by both the Deputy Speaker and the clerk that he is supposed to come tomorrow and not today. Honorable member for Salima Southwest. Honorable members, can you have order, please? Honorable member for Salima Southwest. Yes, I've been guided that you're supposed to come back tomorrow, please. Thank you. Honorable Leader of the House.
Good afternoon, Right Honorable Speaker and the whole House. The Honorable Member for Salima Southeast was sent out under Standing Order 105. And if you allow me to read that Standing Order.
Honorable Leader, are we going to start debating that issue here?
Because the Standing Order recognizes the first day as first day and the second day.
Honorable Leader
So he has already
House.
spent 2 days.
Honorable Leader of the House. I don't think
Much obliged, but it was under Standing Order 105.
Yes, but I've been guided that it was said that the member should come tomorrow. So let's not go back to that debate, please. We now go to the questions to Understanding Order 70B. And I'll ask the Honorable Member for Likoma Island to ask and confirm the question.
Thank you, Madam Right Honorable Speaker. Madam Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to ask question number PQT1, standing to my name on today's order paper. I thank you.
Thank you. Your Excellency the President. Can I have order, honorable members? Order, honorable members.
Madam.
Members, order on my right, please.
Madam Speaker, as it has been my custom from the onset of my presidency, I once again present myself before you and this entire assembly in compliance with the Constitution of the Republic of Malawi, which commands me as a servant of the Malawian people to appear before their representatives in this august House to answer their questions. In this context, it is only appropriate that as I begin, just like I've done in previous occasions, I make a statement by which I account for the State of the Nation address that I delivered here on the 14th day of February, and which the honorable members of this House have been debating in the 12 days since. A sacred duty that I feel honored and humbled to discharge, and for which I owe you and this House many deepest thanks. Madam Speaker, from following the debate on my State of the Nation address in this House closely, before I respond to specific questions, it's become clear to me that this presidential question time is distinct from all the others I have done before. Its uniqueness is in the fact that I stand here today not merely as one accountable, but also as one accused. And both legal and natural justice demand that I face and answer my accusers. The accusation leveled against me is that the State of the Nation address that I delivered before this House was a total lie designed to deceive Malawians and resulting from a chorus of ministers and senior officials
who feed me with lies. And my unequivocal answer and plea to this pernicious charge is that I'm not guilty. My ministers are not guilty, and my senior officials are not guilty, as it will soon become clear. I never imagined, Madam Speaker, that a day would come when I would be forced to subject your good office and the dignity of this House to a narration of the process I undertake in constructing the State of the Nation address. But I beg your indulgence to do so this one time in order to allow the truth to triumph over the culture of false accusations that prevails in our politics. I say that there is a culture of false accusations in our politics, Madam Speaker, because, as you know, this is neither an isolated incident nor the first time that a false accusation has been leveled against me and published so far and wide that it even achieves wide acceptance among the most enlightened, thoughtful, educated, and respected Malawians here at home and abroad. For example, it is that same culture from which one opposition party in this House spread the false accusations that I had received bribes in exchange for MTF contracts in 2022, which I did not. It is that same culture from which this same party spread the false accusation that I ordered the arrest of the former Director General of the Anti-Corruption Bureau in 2023 when I did not. It is that same culture from which this same party spread the false accusation that I had assassinated my own Vice President in 2024 when I did not. And of course, it is that same culture from which this party even spread the false story that I had died just 5 months ago, which I certainly hope I did not. And so, Madam Speaker, this latest accusation that my State of the Nation address was, quote, all lies, unquote, to quote the Honorable Leader of Opposition, or that it was, quote, full of lies, end of quote, to quote the Honorable Member of Blantyre City South, comes out of this culture, and it is no surprise. But, Madam Speaker, if their accusation that my address was all lies is to be believed, it would mean that even when I said in my address that they are bona fide members of Parliament, it was all lies. And I saw them. They came, some of them walked out. If the accusation that I'm addressed was all lies is to be believed, it would mean that their own constituencies or members of their constituencies who acknowledge that they indeed received the cash transfers or NEF loans or CDF funds or school blocks or ICT labs or bridges or health services or bags of maize that I mentioned in my address are also lying. But I do not believe the people of Mulanje or Blantyre are like that. If the accusation that my address was all lies is to be believed, it would mean that even their fellow opposition MPs also lied when they acknowledged that their constituencies indeed received the developments I mentioned in the SONA, including the DPP Member of Parliament from Mwanza Central, who acknowledged the health units and schools we have delivered, and the stadium and police unit that are 90% done, or the DPP Member of Parliament for Zomba Malosa, who acknowledged the construction of a police unit at Domas using the development funds my government provided, or the DPP Member of Parliament for Chitipa South, who acknowledged the rural hospital in Tariri, As you can see, Madam Speaker, even in the opposition's own rank are honorable members who are honest enough to dispute the allegation that my State of the Nation address was all lies. And so, like every other false accusation that I have faced since I took office, I believe this one will also die the death it deserves from the light of truth. Madam Speaker, my point here is that if the people making this false accusation had any interest in the truth, they would have remained consistent among themselves, but they did not do so. As I recall, the leader of opposition even stated in his response to my State of the Nation address last week, Monday, that he and the entire opposition will not participate in the debate on the SONA because it was, quote, a political speech full of lies, end of quote. And yet his fellow opposition MPs went ahead to debate on the SONA. But I have not heard anyone accusing him of lying to this House or of being a leader of opposition whom his MPs do not listen to. Most importantly, Madam Speaker, if the people making this false allegation had any interest in the truth, they would have sought my explanation for the queries they had observed in the SONA, but they did not. Instead, after observing that about 2% of the data I reported on each district had a query, they rushed to this House and the media to allege that the only explanation for those queries was that I and my ministers had colluded to come here and lie. It is not true, Madam Speaker. What is true is that the construction of the State of the Nation address goes through 9 different stages involving no less than 75 technocrats. And the first 5 of these stages include the development of the SONA framework, the compilation of the required SONA data, the review of that data, the verification of that data with the actuals on the ground, and fifthly, the transfer of the verified data from the different ministries into a unified data matrix in my office. So as soon as I learned that some had observed that 2% of that data I reported on each district had a query, I investigated the matter and found that the variants all emanated from a team of 5 technocrats who had inadvertently transferred 2% of the verified data from the ministries into the wrong categories of my unified data matrix. As such, there was no lying involved at any point in this exercise, since the same technocrats who had entered this small fraction of the data that had been queried are also the ones who entered 98% of the data that has not been queried. So once they had entered all the verified data into my unified data matrix, the remaining 5 stages of building this SONA began, namely the formulation of an overarching narrative, followed by the drafting, editing, formatting, and printing of the final speech. So as you can see, Madam Speaker, this is a meticulous process, and while it is not immune to human error, it is immune to deception. This, Madam Speaker, is the true explanation for the queries observed in a fraction of the data I reported here for each district. Now, Madam Speaker, this does not mean that the errors made by my team of data analysts do not matter. In fact, those 5 technocrats have since been summoned and reprimanded, and the head of the team has since been fired from this position as team leader. Rather, what it means is that I cannot and will not condone the attempts by the opposition in this House and some in the media to brand them as liars and to demonize ministers and other officials in my government who were not even part of that team because that would be a violation of the oath I took to do right by all. For avoidance of doubt, Madam Speaker, it is not that any of my ministers and officials are perfect, but the allegation that they lied to me or that my son was full of lies is a categorically false and politically motivated attack designed to build someone's political capital by destroying mine. But as God is my witness, Madam Speaker, not even I myself have ever claimed to be an angel whose words or actions cannot be queried. So those of you who are looking for a president who is a flawless angel from heaven should vote for somebody else this year, because angelic perfection is a standard I'll never be able to reach. For this reason, Madam Speaker, in compliance with the rules of this House, I hereby withdraw the fraction of data in my State of the Nation address that have been queried, and I humbly request your good office to have the vast majority and remainder of that address, which cannot be queried or disputed, remain in the record of the Hansard and be adopted by this House as moved by the honorable member of Jail Central. Now, since I have proven beyond reasonable doubt the claim by the leader of opposition that my son had no word of truth in it, it is itself an inaccurate statement that was made in this House. I invite him to follow my example by withdrawing those parts of his response from the Hansard. That is what integrity and good governance demand. Understandably, such a withdrawal may be harder for him than it is for me because of the differences in the values espoused by our respective parties. After all, Madam Speaker, I'm fully persuaded that the party I belong to, the mighty Malawi Congress Party, is a party truly committed to transparency and honesty. Ours is not the party that discredited the corpse of a president by taking it to hospital to lie to Malawians that he was alive. Ours is not the party that lied to Malawians that it will open the Nsanja Inland Port on its first day in government in order to get votes from the lower share. Ours is not the party that planted dozens of foundation stones around the country to lie to Malawians that the planting of such stones means that they initiated the projects. Ours is not the party that put one thin layer of tarmac on roads to lie to Malawians that this would turn Malawi into Singapore. Ours is not the party that lied to Malawians that there was Forex in the central bank when that Forex was just money laundering scheme covered up by submitting false records to the International Monetary Fund. Ours, Madam Speaker, is certainly not the party that lied to Malawians that it won an election credibly when all know that its path to the State House was paved with tipex instead of votes. So, Madam Speaker, if after my compliance with the rules of this House in this transparent manner, anyone here still wishes to keep falsely accusing me of delivering a sonar full of lies just to demonize me, then I trust God and the Malawian people to be the judge. I trust that the Malawian people who were kind enough to have me serve as their president, even though they know I am not an angel, are also fair enough to have me continue serving as their president because they know I am not the demon some here paint me to be, for I have never done or said anything as president to lie, kill, steal, or destroy. All that I am, Madam Speaker, is an imperfect human being who is devoted to bringing development to Malawians despite the most difficult economic conditions and the most painful climate conditions that have affected all the nations in our region and that have hit Malawians in harsher ways than any president before me ever has had to deal with. But I can assure you, Madam Speaker, that with or without the fraction of queried data in my sonar, its central message remains true, undeniable, and worthy of adoption by this House. And that message is that there is no district in this country in which you will not find multiple developments, some completed and some in progress, that stand as a testimony of my commitment to serve all Malawians. And so I ask all Malawians who value progress over politics to allow me to take those developments forward. That, Madam Speaker, is the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Now, before I conclude my opening remarks, Madam Speaker, let me make one final point that I consider to be the most important. It is lamentable that so much of the time and resources the opposition has spent in this House has been wasted on viciously attacking me instead of coming together to attack the two real enemies of Malawians, the first of which is hunger, occasioned by drought, which have been addressing since October by distributing maize and providing cash to support the most vulnerable, as well as bringing in additional maize from Tanzania into our market to stabilize food inflation. And the other enemy of Malawians is the cruel raising of commodity prices by greedy and lawless traders. I can therefore only agree with the Honorable Leader of the United Democratic Front in this House, who responded to my State of the Nation address by saying that, quote, the two most pressing issues facing Malawians today are firstly the economy and secondly food security, end of quote. But where he mostly focused on stating the problem, I intend to focus on providing a diagnosis of the causes and providing solutions. In fact, investigations by our intelligence service has found that the current hyperinflation of prices is being done deliberately by some traders in collusion with one of the opposition parties in this House in order to make Malawians suffer so that this same party can use the pain being inflicted on innocent Malawians as a campaign tool to tell Malawians that the unfair trading and illegal pricing of goods is happening because of me. But as far as I am concerned, Madam Speaker, that is betrayal of the Malawian people. In fact, I want to categorically tell the leaders of this political party that your secret plans have been exposed and will not prevail. I said to the leaders of this political party that your plot to overthrow my government through this means by instigating an illegal hyperinflation of prices will not succeed. And my message to all Malawians everywhere is this, Madam Speaker. Since you have sent me questions about this crisis of prices through your representatives in this House, including questions and petitions some of you marched to present to Parliament yesterday, I will respond to those questions and that petition here today about what my government is doing to stop this greedy and criminal cartel that is inflating prices around the country. In fact, I have come here today primarily to announce the tough and swift actions I'm already taking to deal with this conspiracy of illegally distorting market prices for political gain. I have, of course, already been warned that the people doing this are dangerous and want me to simply leave them alone because they are the real owners of Malawi. But I refuse to be intimidated in my own country. And I'm prepared to fight against all foreign and domestic enemies of Malawi's economic sovereignty until the Malawians who are suffering under this yoke are free. My resolve and my mission is to liberate suffering Malawians from the economic shackles of this cartel, come what may. And it is because of this resolve that I am appointing Honorable Engineer Vitumbiko Mumba as the new Minister of Trade and Industry effective immediately. With these remarks, Madam Speaker, let me proceed to the first question. Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank the good people of Likoma Islands for their question regarding my administration's plans to modernize the water transport sector in the country. Madam Speaker, transport and public works have been identified by my administration as accelerators of economic productivity. To pave way for the modernization of the sector, I recently issued an executive order to terminate the 35-year Marine Services Concession Agreement that the DPP government badly negotiated and signed with Mora NGO through Malawi Shipping Company, which was making losses. Under the concession, the company was to manage and develop the ports of Chipoka, Chirumba, Karabe, and Monkey Bay. But as I'm speaking now, Madam Speaker, these ports are in ruins to the point that Chipoka Port is currently closed to the public. As part of my pledge to take our development forward, my administration is resuscitating and capacitating Malawi Lake Services Limited to continue rendering shipping services and port operations on Lake Malawi. Madam Speaker, my administration is also constructing a modern jetty at Likoma, which is nearing completion, to be followed by the construction of a landing facility at Chizumulu. And not only are the designs for that ready, but a site for it has also been identified. This will significantly reduce travel time and cost between Likoma and Karabe, thus fostering trade, economic growth, and enhancing tourism. Madam Speaker, you may wish to know that my administration is conducting a comprehensive study for Chipoka Port as a modern multimodal transport hub, which connects rail, road, to support the secondary cities initiative. We expect this to improve the movement of both passengers and cargo. Similar studies are being conducted in Kotakota and Karabe with support from African Development Bank, and plans are underway to construct a port at Makanjira to support the mining sector there. Plans are also underway to rehabilitate the Monkey Bay and Chilumba ports and construct the landing sites at Usisha and Mlowe. Madam Speaker, just 6 months ago, I visited Germany as part of strengthening bilateral relationships. While there, I heard meetings with government and private sector players, including a bilateral meeting with the German president, and I shared with them the Malawi National Transport Master Plan, Inland Waterways Subsectoral Plan 2017 to 2037, which presents investment opportunities in port infrastructure and the construction of more efficient vessels to support passenger and freight transport. Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to report that as a consequence of my visit, a high-powered delegation from Germany's Federal Association of Public Inland Ports, a grouping of CEOs of inland shipping companies and construction engineers, will be visiting Malawi between March and April this year to look at our inland waterways and hold discussions with officials in the Ministry of Transport and Public Works on the next steps they can take to leverage the investment opportunities we have created in port development and the assembly of fit-for-purpose passenger and cargo vessels in Malawi. The association has also extended an offer of internships in German companies, port authorities, and other related associations. In addition, a high-level delegation that arrived last week from the United Arab Emirates, UAE, discussed with governments some emerging investment opportunities in tourism and water transport. I believe that all these efforts, Madam Speaker, will eventually unlock the potential of tourism and inland water transport as critical enablers in the development of our economy. In other words, just as I declared and delivered the revamping of our railway transport system in my first term, I will declare and deliver the revamping of our water transport system in my second term. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. As per rules, we'll have 3 supplementary questions, and the first one was Nkhotakota Central, and then Zomba, Chisi, and it's a North. So start with Nkhotakota Central.
Thank you very much, Speaker, for giving us, the people of Nkhotakota Central, an opportunity to ask the President a supplementary question. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for taking an effort to revamp the water transport in Malawi. But water transport in Malawi was combined with the M8 road from Nkhotakota Kasungu to Mchinji to shorten the distance of goods from Mozambique, Tanzania, going to Zambia. That is known as Mtwara Corridor. What's the government plan to resuscitate this road, simply because we have some sections, such as the Nkhotakota Msulira Road, which is impassable as I'm speaking, Mr. President, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Nkhotakota Central. Chisi, Zomba Chisi.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for recognizing the people of Zomba Chisi to ask a supplementary question to His Excellency, the President of the Republic. Right Honorable Speaker, you will recall that you only have 2 members of this House of yours who are coming from the islands, and that is the owner of the question, my brother Ashens, and myself, Right Honorable Speaker. And therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, I feel entitled to ask a question, a supplementary question over the original question. Right Honorable Speaker, through you, I would like to ask His Excellency the President the plans that his government has to upgrade the road that connects between Zomba City and Chisi Island through the Kachulu Harbor, and that is around Kachulu area. You will recall, Right Honorable Speaker, that I have been standing in this House to ask this very question to the Honorable Ministers, that is the Minister and the Deputy Minister. I have been responded to, but I have the privilege that the Head of State and Government is in this House today. I believe he has got a response for us. Why is it that I'm connecting this question is because the island, that is Kisi Island, which hosts over 6,000 people. The people are having challenges to access various services when they go to Zomba City. But over and above that, Right Honorable Speaker, there are so many economic activities that happen around Lake Chirwa and indeed the ecosystems that are supported by the lake. There are farms, schemes, as well as the fishing industry that happens around that area. So my question again, Right Honorable Speaker, through you to His Excellency the President, what his government, or to find out what plans does his government have in upgrading the road, the 23 kilometers road from Zomba City, especially Airwing, to Kachuru Harbor. I thank you, your Right Honorable Speaker, through your Excellency. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Zomba Chisi, Dejanov.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for allowing the people from Senior Chief Tambala and Senior Chief Chauma to ask a supplementary question to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Malawi. But before I pose my question, Madam Speaker, it is understandable that in Malawi for the past 26 years, we lost the three major sources of transport. In the 26 years, we lost Air Malawi as our national carrier. And in 26 years, we lost the railway transport. And in 26 years again, we lost the water transport, which was, there was a concession to another company which didn't improve anything. So I would like to really recommend or highly thank His Excellency for coming back to the basics of the economy. There is no economy which can run without transport. Everything we do, it depends on the movement of goods and people. So we are happy that for the first time in 26 years, the railway is back. The Malawi airline, for the first time in the past 2 years, it has made a profit. This is on record. And it is only due to Your Excellency's leadership. So with all that hope, Madam Speaker, when it comes to water transport, I would like to learn from His Excellency if it is possible that through the Malawi Investment and Trade Center, which is Malawi's own investment portfolio, that just in case that we want to be able to attract good investors into the water transport, is your government willing to invest on its own into the water transport, especially on the vessels, the ships that should be help these people in these island places? My concern is that, Madam Speaker, if the government want to put its own resources into these vehicles, maybe it may take us longer, but with the willingness of His Excellency in establishing the ports and all the other infrastructure, my greatest interest is that the government will it be willing to invest through the MITC, that we should have our own vessels by all means in these people who are living along the lake shore. That's the question from the people of Dedza North, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dedza North. Your Excellency the President.
Madam Speaker, let me thank the people of Nkhotakota Central who pointed out an important aspect of the fact that Malawi is land-linked and that as part of the SADC region and part of Africa, the design at that time for these various corridors was to enable us move goods and services as well as people through different means, and that involved making sure that we have the ports in Mozambique as well as Tanzania serve as part of this regional connectivity, and we are pursuing the same. That is the reason we have embarked on rehabilitating not just the road infrastructure, but the rail infrastructure. And our intention is to also use the water infrastructure to be able to reach out even to the northern part of Malawi before rail is constructed to Nduna. Malawi Development Corporation Holding Limited, which was really closed by previous administrations. We are looking at all the companies in which the government has interest to help revamping of all of these, and to ensure that every interest of whatever company it is should feel that what is happening is part of a regional response. So Malawi is not isolated. The particular road you referred to, which is M5, is being worked on through the African Development Bank, and we'll make sure that that whole road is redone, just like the portion that is being done now is being done excellently. Zombachisi, we acknowledge the fact that these are the islands that need connectivity. Didn't necessarily talk about the water transportation issue, but it is an important one because to connect from Zomba City, the 23 kilometers to Kajua Harbor, we need a good road because of the economic benefits that accrue from that island. And we can assure that this is one road that should be considered and is being considered so that we can have the money, and we will make sure that we have designs to take into account the fact that you could have flooding or you could have dry situation like we had lost most of that lake several years ago. And so we will ensure that this is considered because we do not want any part of Malawi delinked from any other part. Dedza North is talking about maybe through MITC, Malawi doing its own investment. We are looking into this. In fact, there is a question later that I will address in terms of how we resource our own monies, produce our own monies to fund our own development. The idea that government is discussing with potential investors to invest in the transport sector is just so that we can move a lot faster. And Germany is the one that has shown interest. And so we want to have our own people trained, because we cannot just say something without preparing to do what we say. I would say that that's about all I can say right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We now go to question PQT2, Kasungu North.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to confirm that question PQT2 is indeed from the people of Kasungu North. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Kasungu North. Your Excellency, the President.
Madam Speaker, let me thank the people of Kasungu North through you for asking this very important question. I appreciate the concern raised by the good people of Kasungu North regarding the performance of our diplomats as marketers of Malawi's produce. While there is room for improvement in the performance of our diplomats as our nation's economic emissaries, Madam Speaker, I have seen with my own eyes how hard and diligently they work under challenging circumstances, including the challenge of limited resources for marketing the investment opportunities in our country. So, Madam Speaker, let me start by emphasizing that my administration is committed to enhancing trade and investment through our economic diplomacy, guided by our foreign mission engagement strategy. In an increasingly interconnected world, it is essential that we engage with international partners to create opportunities that benefit our economy and strengthen our global standing. Madam Speaker, our economic diplomacy strategy is centered on establishing and nurturing relationships with key trading partners. My administration is actively pursuing bilateral and multilateral trade agreements that not only open markets for our goods and services, but also attract foreign investment into our country for wealth and job creation. By aligning our trade policies with those of our partners, we are laying a foundation for mutually beneficial economic growth. Madam Speaker, the August House is aware that my administration is implementing the agriculture, tourism, and mining ATM strategy, which involves prioritizing investments to sectors that support the strategy in which we have competitive advantages as a nation. By showcasing our strengths at international trade fairs and business fora, we are drawing attention to the opportunities available within our borders. These efforts are supported by our targeted trade missions that facilitate direct engagement with potential traders, investors, and business partners. Madam Speaker, before our trade attachés are deployed, they are oriented in our trade policy and our strategies for promoting trade for the country. This is intended to make sure that they remain focused on our country's needs and development priorities. By engaging our citizens living overseas, we will tap into new markets and bring valuable insights back home, because the time has come for us to empower our upstanding citizens in the diaspora to serve as our nation's volunteer economic envoys so that they can actively leverage their networks abroad for the development of Malawi. Madam Speaker, through the Ministry of Trade and Industry and Malawi's Investment Trade Center, MRTC, our missions in South Africa, Zambia, Kenya, South Sudan, Rwanda, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Netherlands, China, India, Japan, and Kuwait, among others, provided export inquiries on soya, groundnuts, pigeon peas, macadamia nuts, sugar, rice, coffee, rubber, and sesame in 2024. We are therefore following up on these inquiries to turn them into export deals that are vital for diversifying our market, boosting local production, and increasing our forex earnings. So I want to assure this House that Malawi, under my leadership, has an excellent cohort of ambassadors around the world, all of whom are professionals, but our biggest challenge in leveraging them for access to new markets is here at home, because we do not produce enough volumes of produce to supply those markets. Which is why I'll never stop preaching production, production, and more production, because no economy is built on the consumption of things we do not produce. Take China and India, for example, both of which are huge markets with a high demand for our produce, but we are not pushing each other enough to produce the volumes these markets demand. So the missing link in our economy is production. And until we all get the message and get serious about healing the open wound of low production, we will continue squabbling over bandages. To conclude my answer on this question, Madam Speaker, I want to call upon the private captains to collaborate more closely with the Ministry of Trade and Industry and MITC to ensure that they are fully informed and ready to seize the export potential available for the country. I also want to call upon commercial banks, which are making huge profits every year, to invest those profits in capitalizing the enterprises of youth and women who are ready to work hard on production. In fact, in my second term, we are even going to explore the idea of turning NIF into a bank that can attract more investment to increase the access of youth and women to funds to establish production plants. I already discussed the idea with the African Development Bank, who are willing to support such a venture. So that is how committed my administration is to creating a conducive environment for production and trade, to add to our ongoing efforts to streamline regulations, procedures, and improve trade infrastructure. Thank you, Madam.
Osaiwala kupanga subscribe ku channel ya AMTV Malawi.